Well, hey everyone. This is piano underscoring part two, and really this is just like an addendum. It's specifically for the keys player that's out playing at a campus when we are going to merge with Northwest and play the same song together, all synced together at the same time. It makes for a little bit of a baton pass that is important, but we have to all be on the same page as to how it happens. And so here are just a couple notes about how that happens when it happens this way. Okay, we've been doing this at Midtown. It's really great when we're singing along with that video for that reprise. And like Northwest doesn't go away, basically, at the end of the sermon, which is like quite a unifying experience when you're in the congregation. That like the local band, it just feels like joins with the Northwest stream and we're all just doing the song together and it's kind of exciting. But there's a critical transition, and that is the transition from the local campus piano player deferring to, at the right time and in the right way, deferring to the piano player at Northwest when it takes over. Now, typically, this happens at the sermon goes, then the preacher prays, and it's at the end of that prayer, towards the end of that prayer, that's where like the transition starts to happen. And then the front of house audio engineer at your local campus will basically take Myron's piano or the Northwest piano, it's Myron this weekend, take that over, and then the local piano can kind of play a little less or like roll their piano sound out and maybe just keep pads in. And that transition, that takes that 10 seconds or whatever it is, like that's kind of a critical time where you don't want to overplay. You want to kind of if locally you want to kind of get to your one chord basically, and almost just to your one notes as the Northwest piano starts to take over. Until you hear a cue from Northwest, which we do hear, we hear their clicks and cues. And when we hear those, or they start singing, then I know where we're at in the song and in the progression, then I can kind of start playing again. So that like 10 or 20-second transition is a little bit critical. This weekend, something unique happened, and I just want you to know what happened in my ears as I was doing this. This is from this weekend.
In the name of Bob Russell. Some of you might recognize that name.
What you
Bob
hear is Myron from
served as
Northwest,
pastor of Southeast Christian Church down the road in Louisville.
Now this is towards the end of the
for over
sermon.
40 years,
and I could hear exactly
Bob
this. I could hear Myron in my ears.
So much from him. And
but I knew
that
Myron's keys weren't playing in the house.
On money and
so I was underscoring.
So we were talking about that. And he goes, Aaron, he said, don't ever shy away from it. And he goes,
and I knew that my underscore was live in our house, even though I could hear Myron. So I had to ignore what Myron was playing in my ears.
The budget?
Because I knew he wasn't playing in our sound system. If that makes sense. I know that's a little confusing, but that was just the experience I had this weekend. I knew it wasn't going to be until the end of Aaron's prayer that I would allow Myron to kind of defer, and our front of house engineer would push Myron's keys up. It would be after the prayer. So I underscored Aaron.
Where you are right now. What's the one thing that you needed to hear today?
Right over top of whatever I heard Myron playing right now.
Actually the same thing.
Right? And then I'll go a little further, and then what happens is,
to do something together. Are you comfortable? You need to do. Sit there long enough for the door.
Yeah, Aaron's about
listening.
done here, I think.
I'm listening. What is it that you want me to do? You asked Elijah to do something very uncomfortable. You asked this widow to do something uncomfortable. So
I think he's praying right now, actually.
God, are you asking me to do right now?
He's praying.
Speak, for your servant is listening. We ask this in Jesus' name.
Oh, crap. I got to get to a one chord quick. And I just go to a one and hold it. Myron is taking over right now in our house, and he's talking.
Chorus.
And
2,
I'm just playing
3,
a 1.
4.
So right there, that critical moment, what I did was I went to a 1, but I let it ring. That way that our sound system in our house had a little pad and stuff still going. I turned my keys down and left my pad in. a little bit until I could catch what Myron was doing. And right here, Myron said something and then he starts singing. But right now, I know I'm just holding a 1 and I'm listening to catch, to merge with what Northwest is leading me in now. Does that make sense? There's that chorus. Okay, so because she's going to that chorus, I'll start playing those chords, but without my piano on, I'll just use my pads. That way Myron's piano can lead. And then about right here, I go ahead and play just right on top of the chord changes. That way my piano is in our local room too, and they can mix it to taste. Now I'll play right over top of Myron, and I'll let our front of house engineer mix it to taste, right? So that's what I'll do. I'll play right along. So that's the transition. That's kind of what's going on. At the end of that song, we do cut away from Northwest and go to a local host. So, like, that would end, like, I would just ring out the end of that song. Hallelujah to the one who came and made a way. Hallelujah to the one who's be glory and honor, power forever. Glory and honor, power forever. I forget how it ends, but I think it ends on a big 1 chord. No, it ends on a 4. Glory, 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 and honor, and power forever. I would just ring it out with Northwest, big trash can. And then I know I'm going immediately. I'm going back local just to by myself. So I'll ignore now what Northwest is doing, and I'll just go and underscore our local host. And the video will end. So, that's kind of what's happening. This again has been a 7-minute video. I just am trying to introduce you to what's going to happen on the weekend, that you're going to try to do this eventually. And I want you to understand it's complex. It can feel a little weird, but we have to kind of work together. We have to collaborate with our local technical director and our local front of house audio engineer. And then we have to apply some trust that they're going to mix those transitions at the right time, and we can just go with it and lean into it. And then we got to give each other feedback. Was that smooth? Did you need this? Did you need me to say something now? I think it would be super helpful. And it is super helpful when I get word as I'm playing that, like, okay, we're going with Northwest now, or Northwest keys are leading now, or okay, you're out, or something. That way it just gives me a peace of mind knowing, okay, the transition's over. So anyway, if you have questions, as always, reach out.